Hello, dear friends. July is just ahead of us. This is the most important month for Geminis in the past several years. Why is that? What do you think? The main planet of mischief, the planet of surprises, the planet of technology is entering your sign. That very planet which symbolizes the age of Aquarius. And all of this will belong to you for the next 7 years. Uranus moves into Gemini right here on the 7th or 8th of July. And your life, well, it will never be the same again. Uranus is, on one hand, the main planet of oddballs, eccentrics, people who don't want to follow the beaten path and have this kind of genius gene within them. Now, this genius gene for the next 7 years belongs to you. Sign here. Dear Geminis, it's all in your hands now. And Uranus comes in very quickly, literally in July and August, bursting into our reality and just throwing all the doors wide open. Usually, when a planet enters a new sign, it typically spends a long time trying to adapt, figure things out, understand what's going on, where it is, and what it's supposed to do there. But Uranus makes its presence known right from the very first month, and does so forcefully. There's no escaping it. It radically and fundamentally changes the nature of our lives. Honestly, I could talk about this endlessly, but I'll try to keep this video to around 20 minutes, or at least as close as I can. In this video, there will be 5 key topics: Uranus, the full moon, and the new moon. All that astrological symbolism. Each of these 5 key events might play out for you as, wow, awesome, there's an effect, or it might not affect you at all, just some nonsense, not a horoscope, nothing works. This has to do with the fact that you have your own birth date, and your birth date, with its own planetary positions, might resonate with the events happening in the world for everyone, or it might not resonate at all and just stay dormant, hanging there, doing nothing. Below the video, you'll find a link to a free calculation based on your birth date, where you'll see a list of these general events that affect everyone. But under each general event, your personal individual index will be shown from 1 to 5 plus signs, or from 1 to 5 stars, indicating how much this event is personally connected to you, or if it has nothing to do with you at all. It's free. Below the video, you'll find a list of all the dates I'm about to talk about, along with the corresponding indices tailored to your personal birth date. I also have another separate service where you can look up events that are specific to your exact birth date. Not these general ones, but what's happening specifically in your houses, your planets, your aspects. All of this is available in a private group on Telegram. There's a chat there, as well as an AI that will help you instantly put together a description of what any particular planetary position means. There are also classes, and right now in June, we've dedicated the entire month to Jupiter, the main planet of happiness. And every week, we go over several different topics related to Jupiter. There are also assistants in the chat, those same classes, and charts that you can just glance at to immediately see what aspects you have, on which day, and for how long. Because sometimes it's not convenient to read texts, but with the charts, it's immediately clear and easy to understand. We also offer early access to videos there. For example, this video will be available to watch in the private chat on June 14th. It will be on YouTube later. There are a ton of different bonuses. They're all listed here. I won't leave. Let's move on to the events and talk about Uranus. Well, we'll talk more about Uranus later. Before Uranus, there's a very important event. From July 1st to 5th, Black Moon is activated. It's like a black stain on a pure white, snow-white garment. The black moon is like a fly in the ointment, but sometimes it's also a way to manipulate things the right way. Wherever the black moon is, people like to playfully manipulate attention, play with words, and sometimes come up with things, sometimes even complete nonsense. Right now, the black moon is in the sign of Scorpio, the sign of jealousy, the sign of emotional demands. The black moon can provoke feelings in a very sharp, intense, and vivid way, and venting an emotion or unleashing such a wave of jealousy that you just can't sort it out afterward. You just can't. And this is that state when emotions just overwhelm you, wind you up. Then come all these complaints, and then it all just piles up. The thing about the black moon is that right now it's in the sign of emotions, the sign of feelings, and it manipulates and plays specifically with the sensual, emotional side, literally robbing us of our confidence. It makes it hard for us to understand whom to trust and whom not to trust. Is this person really mine, or are they just a black sheep in the flock? In other words, there's this feeling of suspicion towards someone. And we're talking about your circle of emotionally significant, maybe even close people, where these games of suspicion from the black moon start to play out. The main advice for dealing with this black moon is, don't overthink it. Of course, I've just explained all these things. Where and about what can you get hung up? But the best way to deal with the black moon is to just ignore it. Don't let it get in your head, and realize that other people might have their own hang-ups coming up right now. Don't get too caught up in them. Don't try to figure everything out. For Gemini ascendants, let me clarify that the black moon in Scorpio is most likely passing through the 6th house. This could mean intrigue at the workplace. Well, here we go. One person is gossiping about one thing, another about something else. And there's this feeling that I don't know who I can trust at work. Because one group has one scheme going on, and another group has something else up their sleeve. All sorts of little intrigues like that. But what's important is that this aspect to the black moon is most likely coming from the sun in either the 2nd or 3rd house. If it's in the 3rd house, then it's nothing serious, just some pointless discussions. But if it's in the 2nd house, then the situation might be that this intrigue in the work process could be connected to my income. And that's not such a pleasant little detail. But with the black moon, you always actually need to turn things inside out and, on the contrary, use some cunning or emotional manipulation to find a way to add something to your 2nd house of money. So, in fact, there are people who make good money with the black moon. And there are those who don't make money at all and lose out big time here. But Gemini, actually, is a sign that's got the gift of gab. So, what's what here? How Geminis turn the black moon to their advantage is actually a pretty simple thing for them. Let's move on. And the next event. Here, we have a full moon on July 10th, which takes place in the sign of Capricorn, a sign that is traditionally associated with business. That's right. July 10th. It's connected with managing a large system, with big responsibility, with a large team of people we work with together. In other words, the full moon itself is about serious people coming together to solve serious issues. But the most important thing is that right around these dates, specifically on the 7th, Uranus moves into the 1st degree of Gemini. This is exactly the kind of revolution that changes the mindset of all of us, but especially Geminis. Right now, you'll most likely start to feel that your life is gradually shifting onto some different paths, heading in a new direction. At the same time, right now you probably aren't fully aware of it yet, not exactly on these specific dates, but by the end of August, Or maybe, let's say, by the end of September, you'll have a clear realization in your mind that these 3 months, July, August, and September, have completely transformed the way you go about your actions and your life. And this Uranus, well, over the course of these 3 months, will really bring a distinct turning point. Although right now, in July, you'll only be able to sense it faintly, like catching a scent, intuitively feeling that something is changing somewhere. So, what's changing? First of all, Uranus in Gemini means a very high level of information processing. It's as if you suddenly start to grasp a huge amount of knowledge and information with ease, stuff that used to take you, let's say, 3 times as long before. The second point is incredible flexibility. I mean, if Geminis are already known for their silver tongues, here it's like your words are performing kung fu moves in the air. And this incredible flexibility, this ability to adapt to any situation or circumstance, and to come up with so many brilliant solutions that before you could only envy. At the same time, yes, it might not be immediately obvious or right in your face, but you'll get the sense that your mind is becoming so flexible and selective, and your language just so easily, well, shows a kind of genius. And Uranus is the main planet that, in fact, is all about genius. And here it starts working for you everywhere, all the time. You just chat with a salesperson, drop a brilliant idea, and the salesperson is like, wow. You come in, and suddenly over there, it's the boss or similar. You sense the opportunities. Very subtle things can just slip off your tongue and create a new reality for those around you. And you just pick things up in passing. You're like the little mouse from, where was it they were pulling the turnip? They kept pulling and pulling for a long time. Then the little mouse ran up and gave a flick of its tail. In the same way, with barely noticeable things and moments, you'll be able to shift major paradigms, both in people's minds and in ongoing processes. So Uranus in Gemini will often work literally at the tip of your tongue, just through a certain intonation, a single word, or an idea. And just like that, bam! And everything is different. You've changed the game, outplayed everyone, including maybe even yourself. And that's how it starts to happen. Another important feature of this date, of this full moon happening here, is that it's taking place in contact with the node of the past. The node of the past refers to an old team, an old group of people with whom we've solved a lot of things together. These could be business people, intellectuals, a community of athletes, or people who work with the physical body. And with this community, we'll have a lot to do together in July. And it's precisely the full moon that can bring us together, as if here they are, our crew of familiar faces from the past, but very effective, productive, and business-minded. For those with an ascendant, let me clarify that the full moon will most likely pass through either the 8th or 9th house. If it's the 8th house, that's a direct path into business processes, structuring, and systematization. If the full moon is in the 9th house, then it's just as direct a path toward communication and interaction with foreign partners, like traveling to Dubai to sort out some financial matters with the Arabs. That's it. Mars plays a major role in this full moon. It's moving through the 5th house and will most likely symbolize creative adventurousness. And Mars in the 5th house can also represent a vivid story involving a lover or a romantic affair. That is, when, well, with a very intellectual lover or romantic partner, and with a sense of romantic adventurousness. At the same time, don't forget that Venus, right at the beginning of the month, after the 5th, moves into your sign. And Venus is the symbol of love. Right now, Venus is in your 1st house. This means you yourself become a symbol of love and attraction for those around you. Everyone passing by wants to get to know you, to talk to you. No, let's discuss this a bit more. And you might even notice that anything you say is pleasant, interesting, and brings joy to others. There's this everyday chattiness from people around you. And people enjoy chatting with you about anything at all. And this influence for the ascendants, it will most likely be very obvious. Again, Venus on the ascendant might not show up right now, but a bit later, closer to the end of the month. Here, you need to know your exact degrees. Around the 14th or 15th of July. Here we have an important theme of taking a break, relaxing, and connecting with people in the arts, focusing on emotions, stepping away from the constant information overload and all those tasks that have been bombarding you, and just deciding, you know what, I'm going to go to a concert with my friends, unwind, and have a good time. And with the moon in Pisces on the 14th and 15th, it really pushes you toward the idea that there's a place in life for feeling good, whether it's for yourself or for others. And actually, Geminis can make good money from this. So this could be an important indication that in July I can really grow and receive a lot of financial bonuses if I'm somehow connected to the care, assistance, support industry like cosmetology or personal care. And this is exactly what the strong bonus from Jupiter is responsible for, which is currently in the sign of Cancer and may be moving through your second house, literally symbolizing happiness, financial happiness, from bringing happiness to others and making them feel good, creating emotional well-being for them. And all of this is supported by the moon in Pisces, as well as Jupiter and the sun in the sign of Cancer. In other words, caring for and supporting others can be a direct source of my income. For example, especially if we look at this for Geminis, the role of Jupiter is also very important here. There's the theme of personal relationships, the theme of love and romance. It creates a very heartfelt, warm connection with a loved one. Jupiter moved into the sign of Cancer back in mid-June. There were a lot of conflicts there, but it's possible that this is when you started to develop the ability for sensitive, subtle, and pleasant communication. When there's thunder and lightning all around, but you're in the middle of it, chatting beautifully, discussing things, and you found your own soulful wavelength. And right around these dates, this Jupiter reveals itself even more strongly, and there will be this kind of magical, loving energy coming from you. This kind of vibe will happen quite naturally. The only thing I want to clarify is that Jupiter can also symbolize that there is someone next to you with whom you feel completely relaxed, like you just melt when you're around them. And Jupiter in the sign of Cancer for the whole year, until June 22nd, can symbolize that there is a partnership next to me that I absolutely adore. MHM. That's why it will be responsible for your personal life in a very warm, emotional, and supportive way. Now, the next segment, which I would call the real meat of it, from July 17th to the 22nd, the main excitement happens in your mind. It's just this feeling that my brain simply won't let me sleep. I go to bed and he just fucks me. It's that sense that there's just some kind of movement or action going on up there. This is a really good time for intellectuals, for people who are working on a serious problem. Leo Tolstoy, who loved to sit and ponder or come up with a new book, would have really enjoyed this period, most likely, because the brain here is just like a machine running at full throttle. Your mind is really boiling over. This will show up in conversations, discussions, and all kinds of communication. An intellectual, here it's like your brain is really working. You can actually feel this cool sensation, maybe. But on the other hand, this period can also bring a lot of tasks that just make my brain spin. So you have to figure things out both here and there. But honestly, I think you'll actually enjoy it. Geminis love this kind of mental activity, the brainstorming that just hits you here. But this isn't just a brainstorm. It's a full-on storm, where every brain cell is just buzzing with excitement. All right, moving on. I'm bringing this up because Basically, throughout the month of July, you'll gradually start getting used to Uranus, which has moved into your sign. And every time your mind starts exploding with this new energy, you might actually feel ecstatic, like you've got a whole new way of thinking, understanding, and seeing things. You're perceiving life a bit differently, and it all just feels easy. But there are also some nuances within these dates. Your Venus, which represents you as someone who is adored, as someone attractive or charming, this Venus is caught in a loop between the nodes of the past and the future. Specifically on these dates, you, as a figure of love, as someone who attracts affection, find yourself in a kind of dilemma between one love and another. Yes, you're a Gemini, there are two of you, so you can be here and there at the same time. But there's this feeling that life is pulling you in several directions at once. In love matters, in personal affairs, and in many other areas as well. Venus can also influence your preferences not just in love, but in clothing too. One part of me wants this kind of outfit, while the other part of me wants a completely different style. But the amount of money I have on hand right now is just like this. This feeling of being pulled between two realities, like I'm stuck in a loop between the corner of the past and the future, and I'm kind of bouncing around. That's also a symptom that will be especially obvious on July 21st. But overall, it'll be bothering you throughout all these days. And another thing, the aspect between Venus and Mars. Mars, for a change, might be moving through the fifth house of romance, which could directly pull you into some kind of love-driven excitement, adventurousness, and even some nonsense. I showed it like that on purpose, like RRR, because this romantic adventurousness it's going to have. I'm already nervous from this romantic adventurousness, because there's a lot of interesting intellectual stuff going on there. So, it's some smart, interesting person who will excite you. It's fascinating to talk to someone like that, and at the same time, there's a spark of some personal story, but the feeling of mental overload can actually get to the point where your hands start shaking. One more small point. Mercury comes to a stop here, roughly around the 21st, and this can create a sense that you need to dive deep into a subject, stop skimming the surface, and start digging into some important, essential issue. And basically, you might be able to do some deep intellectual work. And for those with this on the ascendant, I'll add a couple of words. Mars in the fifth house plays a huge role in all of this, symbolizing an intellectual game. What? To what end? Why? What is this game called? What, where, when is it called? So here, you're basically the main character, tormented by three questions. What? When? And this all happens in a playful, adventurous mode. We'll see, but it's going to be fun. July 24th. What to do on July 24th? I don't know, because the timing is very ambiguous. Here, on July 4th and July 24th, fiery energy gets activated. Fiery energy doesn't ask questions, it doesn't look for compromises, it doesn't try to play games with you, and it doesn't ask for your advice. It just goes full force with what it wants. So either accept it or not. But don't stand in its way, just step aside. This energy is very selfish, tough, and bold, and you'll be absolutely stunned by the people who reveal themselves here. Your jaw will drop, and you'll be at a loss for words, not knowing how to talk to them, because they're just coming at you with their own intense vibe. This is the very moment when the twins may not say anything. It's a rare moment in life when you can just stay silent. And this is exactly one of those moments. The main takeaway from this event is the new moon on the 24th in the sign of Leo. Bright, leonine, bold, and at the same time very tough energies and people are coming into play. And there's really no dialogue with these people. They're like lions, 350% self-confident. They simply have no need to ask for anyone else's opinion. They're just a lion. Don't bother them. And these people may possess tremendous power and authority. At the same time, this day serves as a harbinger of major, long-term goals and projects that these people will pursue. And they're setting out on their big journey. Of course, all of this sounds pretty grandiose, but the main point is, don't stand in the way on these days, the 24th and the 25th. Secondly, don't try to give them your advice. But the main recommendation is, let others show what they're capable of. Let others express themselves. Here, you might actually meet someone who completely blows your mind, but at the same time, someone who makes your eyes light up, who inspires you, and whose personality is just incredible, so much so that you're at a loss for words. You might just be totally stunned. Wow, I had no idea you could do that. So, you might encounter a really strong personality here, someone who inspires you, someone it makes no sense to argue with, but who could become a significant, influential person in your life over the next few years, or at least play the role of someone so important and powerful that you find yourself falling silent around them. In other words, a strong, authoritative person. And this person will set the trend for the next 3 years. And as a side note, here's a really good tip. You'll meet this person on June 27th, exactly 1 month later. And the people and conversations you get drawn into on June 27th, those exact situations will come to the forefront in full force on July 24th. Just a little heads up like that. For those with an ascendant, let me clarify. We're talking about the sun in the second house. Well, maybe the second, but most likely the third house. This is communication with a strong, bright, powerful person. But if the sun is in the second house, then it could be a very important financial matter. Also, the 11th house is very much activated here, with Saturn and Neptune, so it could be friends or a team of such strong individuals. Again, this could be about military personnel, athletes, law enforcement officers, or people born under Aries or Leo, those who don't accept compromise and don't take no for an answer. It's either yes or we're gone. So, the 11th house represents friends like that, strong and bold. The sun in the third house means communication with celebrities, with some famous people you might look up to, but you shouldn't comment on what they say. I guess that's it. That's all 5 events. Again, there's a link below the video for a free calculation, where you can check by your birth date which of these general events will personally resonate with you. This will be shown by the number of plus signs. If you need interpretation specifically for your birth date and want to know about events that are personally connected to your birth date, you can find them on my channel for sponsors. There will also be a link below the video. There you can subscribe and get your own forecast for the upcoming week, month, or even until the end of the year. All these calculations are presented in charts, which is the main thing, so you can immediately see the whole picture instead of guessing through a bunch of text about what, where, and why. At the same time, we have layouts in weekly, monthly, and yearly formats. So if you need to see a small picture of the week, you'll get a weekly chart where everything is immediately clear. If you need the bigger picture for the year, you can make a yearly chart and instantly see the whole story. This is one of the important innovations we've implemented, and it really helps to simplify things and lets you see both the small and big trends in our lives. We've also integrated artificial intelligence into the group, and in short, we've done a lot there. I invite you to join for at least a month. Check it out, see how interesting it is for you. I think you'll want to stay. And of course, there's early access to videos. This video will be available there on June 14th. But if you're watching it on YouTube, it's probably already the end of the month. So, everything is earlier, bigger, and more interesting. That's all for now. This was Pavel Chudinov. Have a great July. I hope this Uranus in Gemini really shakes things up and gives you some truth about life. And honestly, this coming July, August, and September will be remembered as 3 of the most important months in recent years. And by the end of October, I think you'll really appreciate just how much life has taken a new turn. All right, have a great month. Bye.